Chapter 7 A Vileplume Plot. G'day everyone, Rune here, and this is Chapter 7 of What If Ash Became a Pokemon Ranger? For those of you that are new to this story, there's a link in the description below to the playlist. Now let's begin the next chapter. Glaring at Erica, Gary calls out Aeolus, Cadma, and Argus. Not taking his eyes off the gym leader, he tells Misty to keep an eye on Ash and Crystal and leave Erica to him. Starting strong, Gary calls for Aeolus to hit Tangela with a wing attack, only for the Vine Pokemon to catch his wing with Vine Whip. Before either Gary or Aeolus can react, Tangela uses its grip on Aeolus' wing to slam him into a wall. Refusing to give up, Aeolus struggles to his feet. Smiling, Erica says that he has a lot of spirit, but it takes more than spirit to win a war. To emphasize her point, she has Tangela knock Aeolus out with ancient power. Meanwhile, over with Ash and Misty, Ash is frantically flipping through the documents about the machine, trying to find out what it does and how to use it. When Misty asks why, he explains that if this was used to make Crystal the way she is, maybe it can stabilize her. Just as Misty is about to say something, Ash catches something coming towards them out the corner of his eye. Grabbing the documents, he shouts for Misty to move. They're both just able to get out of the way of a Rotom Mow as it speeds over the spot where Ash had been looking at the documents. Acting fast, Misty puts herself between Rotom and Ash, acting as a shield. Fumbling with the balls on her belt, she tells him to do whatever it is he's planning to do. She'll keep Rotom busy. Nodding in understanding, Ash quickly moves to a more sheltered area of the room, between the wall and the machine. There, he continues from where he left off, looking for anything useful. Meanwhile, Misty is glaring down the Rotom while she debates what she's about to do. This Rotom is an electric grass type, which a good chunk of her Pokemon are weak to. She can't send out Clefairy or Jigglypuff, they're both still tired from the journey to Celadon. The only one that might stand a chance is Gyarados with his flying type moves. But after everything he's gone through, she's been trying to avoid making him fight. But this is an emergency and he really is her best bet. With great reluctance, she calls him out. The moment Gyarados emerges from his Pokeball, he looks at Misty questioningly. Having no time to give a full explanation, she simply tells him that Crystal is in trouble and Ash needs them to fend Rotom off while he finds a solution. She knows that he's been through a lot and fighting is probably the last thing he wants, but their friends need them. Gyarados silences her gently by tapping her lips with his tail. Looking up at him, Misty can see the determination in his eyes. He wants to protect Ash and Crystal just as much as she does. Smiling gratefully, she turns to their opponent. "Let's go, Gyarados!" Back over with Gary, the battle with Erica is going very poorly. While he was able to have Argus take out Tangela with a Calm Mind boosted Swift, Erica's Victory Bell has Poison Jab, which is putting Argus at danger of being poisoned. It also doesn't help that Argus has no psychic moves aside from Teleport. Despite this, Argus is putting up a strong fight, refusing to back down from protecting his friends. So, taking a gamble, Argus gets in close, allowing Victory Bell to hit him with Poison Jab, but getting a critical hit on Victory Bell, taking it down with him. Returning Argus, Gary turns to Cadma. The two share a look of understanding before the little fire lizard steps forward. Back over with Misty, she and Gyarados are putting up a better fight than they thought they would. For some reason, the Rotom is not using any electric type moves. Whether it's because it doesn't know any or it's messing with them, Misty has no idea, but she isn't about to complain. The longer they can drag this fight out, the more time Ash has to figure out that machine. Speaking of, Ash has finally found a page that seems to hold what he's been looking for. It details how the machine is used to deconstruct and reconstruct the DNA of Pokemon with split evolution trees. Most of it is completely over his head, but from what he can understand, the reason that Crystal is in the state she is because someone had taken her out too early. So her DNA had not been stabilized. So if he put her back in and set it to reconstruct, it should stabilize her. The section right after is a manual on how to run the machine, probably for the assistants that Rocket had hired to help with these experiments. As horrible as the thought is, Ash isn't about to stop and think about it right now. He has a friend to save. Following the instructions with needlepoint accuracy, Ash goes through the motions of setting up the machine and placing Crystal inside. He can't afford to make a single mistake. He only has one shot. Once everything is set up, he flips the switch to activate the reconstruction process, only for nothing to happen. The machine has no power. There's no time to look for a power point, and the only electric type in the vicinity is... He turns to Rotom, still battling with Gyarados. In for a penny, in for a pound. Ash calls over to Misty, getting her attention. Once her focus is on him, he points to the machine. Looking between the machine and Rotom, Misty nods in understanding before turning her full attention back to the Rotom. Come on! What electric-type Pokemon doesn't have any electric-type moves? Back over with Gary and Cadma, they are struggling against Erica's strongest Pokemon. Even though Cadma has the type advantage, Vileplume is still a final stage evolution and specifically trained by a gym leader. At the moment, they are mostly focusing on evading Vileplume's attacks and looking for openings to take their own pot shots. Just as Cadma manages to get a good hit on Vileplume with Flamethrower, it retaliates with a Moonblast, which sends him skidding back. As he gets back to his feet, Erica looks at something behind the two boys. It seems that Rotom is done playing. One hit from its Thunderbolt will take down that girl's Gyarados. And once it's gone, well, I don't think two children will do very well on their own. It would be in your best interest to simply hand over the Eevee and Rockruff while you still can. Gary grits his teeth, resisting the urge to look over his shoulder to check on his friends. He can't afford to get distracted. His friends are counting on him to handle Erica, so he needs to trust they can handle whatever's going on behind him. Besides, if you think we're just going to hand over our partners to you, you really don't know us at all. No matter what you throw at us, we're not handing any of our friends over to you! Cadma gives a determined shout of agreement, preparing for another round. Shaking her head with a sigh, Erica tells Gary that he and his friends are truly naive before she directs Vileplume to launch another Moonblast. But this time, it's not aimed at Cadma, but at Gary and Luster. Seeing the danger, Cadma rushes to his two friends, jumping up to intercept the attack. Swinging his tail like a bat, it connects with the ball of light. For a few seconds, Cadma and the ball are suspended in midair, until light envelops Cadma and an explosion blankets the field in smoke and dust. For a moment, Gary thinks that the attack had connected and calls out for Cadma, asking if he's alright. But when the smoke dissipates, standing tall and strong is a Charmeleon. Looking back at Gary over his shoulder, Cadma gives a determined nod, which Gary returns before turning back to Erica. Do you want your words well done, or extra crispy? Seizing on this opportunity, Gary calls for Cadma to use Flamethrower. At the same time behind him, the Rotom Mow launches a powerful Thunderbolt at Gyarados. While Cadma's attack hits Vileplume dead center, Gyarados nimbly dodges out of the way. The bolt of electricity sails past Gyarados and connects with the machine behind it. Instantly, the machine roars to life and Ash pulls the switch. Within seconds, the machine dings, signaling that the process is done. Opening the chamber, Ash is quickly tackled to the ground by an ecstatic Crystal. Getting up, Ash and Crystal swiftly help Misty and Gyarados finish Rotom with a Bite Aqua Tail combo, with Crystal turning into her Daybreak form. With the ghost taken care of, they turn their attention to Gary and Erica. Rushing to Gary's side with their Pokemon, they see that not only has Cadma evolved, but he's defeated Erica's last Pokemon. With the three friends sharing a smile, they turn to Erica together, prepared to fight again if needed. Only for her to hold her hands up and surrender with a warm smile. I concede. You three truly are everything Surge claimed and more. I told you, didn't I? The tweens stare in confused shock as Lieutenant Surge steps out from behind a door and enters the room. Shaking her head, Erica tells Surge that one shouldn't believe everything they hear, especially with people that tend to exaggerate as much as he does. Noticing the looks on the tweens' faces, the two gym leaders lead them to another room, which turns out to be Erica's parlor. There, she asks one of her staff to fetch some tea while everyone takes a seat. First, Erica apologizes for testing the three the way she had. She explains that she had been horrified when Serge told her about them. She couldn't believe that he'd allowed 3 children to not only travel alone with Pokemon that Team Rocket were actively looking for, but had done so knowing that the 3 have every intention of challenging the organization. She could understand that Serge didn't want to separate the Pokemon from people they trust. She can even believe that the 3 have a lot of potential, but they are still children. She'd wanted to go looking for them right away, but Serge insisted on not interfering and that the best way they could help was by gathering information. Eventually, they worked out a compromise. Erica would step back and focus on information gathering if the tweens passed a test. And she's relieved to say they did so splendidly. It's here that Ash asks why Serge would even mention them to her at all. To which Erica explains that she's been helping Serge's resistance against Team Rocket since he defected. With explanations over, she reaches into her pocket and pulls out 3 rainbow badges. For passing my test, I present each of you with a rainbow badge. Ash attempts to protest, but Erica insists, telling him to think of it as a token of friendship. Still a little apprehensive, he pins it to the inside of his jacket. Before they leave, Serge tells the group that Erica isn't the only one interested in the 3. He'd recently run into an old squad mate he hadn't seen since the war ended. He'd managed to get him to agree to help, but on one condition. Someone from their group must face him with his strongest team. Gary asks who it is. The gym leader of Fuchsia City, Koga the Poisonous Ninja. Shocked, Gary asks if all the gym leaders are connected to each other, causing Erica and Serge to laugh. With a new destination set, our group of heroes bid farewell to Erica and Serge and begin to make their way to Fuchsia City. Sometime after leaving Celadon, our group of heroes come across a large parade of people carrying shovels and pickaxes. Quickly, Gary realizes that they must be close to Grandpa Canyon, a large canyon where people from all over the world go to try and dig up fossils. Gary's eyes spark with a fire that Ash is all too familiar with as the brunette begins the long tirade about the history of the canyon. Watching this, Ash rolls his eyes with a teasing smile. And we've lost him. Come on, Misty, let's go find a comfortable rock to sit on while he gets his nerd fix. While Ash and Misty sit themselves on a rock, Gary goes into a frenzy to rival the ones he had at the start of this story, attempting to find as many fossils as he can. After a few minutes of watching this, Misty begins to get bored, so Ash tells her to go stretch her legs. He'll stay and make sure Gary doesn't get himself killed. Nodding gratefully, Misty walks off, wandering through the canyon, trying to find anything to catch her attention. After quite a bit of walking, she finds herself in an area of the canyon where, surprisingly, no one is digging. There, she finds a small cave and heads in to investigate, wondering if it might be the home of a Pokemon. The cave is dark, making it hard to see. In response, she calls out Starmie and has them use Flash. Now able to see where they're going, Misty's eyes are immediately drawn to a small white shape next to the cave entrance. There, lying on its side next to a rock, is a Pokemon egg. Scooping up the egg, she looks it over for any signs of damage. Finding none, she gives a sigh of relief before looking around. She can't see any signs of a nest, so she can only guess that the egg had fallen out of a nest further in and rolled to the entrance. Wanting to return the egg to its home, Misty and Starmie continue deeper into the cave until they stumble across something that makes Misty's heart stop. There on the ground in front of her is a large metal crate which has been broken open. Spilling out of the hole is a pile of straw. But what really got her attention and sent a shiver down her spine was the red R painted on the crate's side. Stepping forward cautiously, Misty examines the crate. It looks old, covered in rust and dirt, like it hasn't been moved in weeks. It's also the only one here, and there are no signs of anyone being around recently. Did Team Rocket drop this crate and just not come back for it? Crouching down, she begins to rummage through the straw, finding nothing. Sitting back, Misty looks at the straw, then the egg, the dots slowly connecting. Tears sting her eyes and she hugs the egg close to her chest. Exiting the cave, Misty begins to make her way back to her friends, her new charge cradled in her arms. Approaching the boys, she can see that Gary has gathered a massive pile of fossils, which he is currently trying to figure out how to pack into his bag. Noticing Misty coming, Ash turns and waves to her, which she returns before rushing over to rejoin her friends. And that, everyone, is where I'm going to leave the story for now. Join me next time as our group of heroes continue on their journey towards their next challenge. I'm Rune. See you next chapter.